Hi, I'm Fumi the Natural Girl, and I've had a very interesting predicament this month. And it's just begun. The month has just begun, the month of May. So the predicament is I've paid all my financial obligations, and looking at the remainder of my money for the month, it ain't much. So there goes buying delicious, already prepared health food at the health food store. Because if you've tried to do that, you know that the prepared health food is pretty expensive. So how do we eat extremely healthy on a limited budget? So that's my exploration for this month, because I'm determined to live within my means, but I'm also determined to eat a healthy diet. So I'm going to take you with me on this exploration. So the first food that we're going to look at is millet, because that's a staple, and we're going to cook that. So let's go. Okay, so here we are in the kitchen getting ready to prepare some millet. So this is what millet is. It's actually a seed grain, and it's originally from West Africa. And it's one of like the sixth, I believe it's the sixth most important grain crop globally. So it's just because it's not used a whole lot in the United States, this is a staple in Africa, it's a staple in Asia. It was, as I understand it, the staple in Asia before rice was. So it kind of serves the same purpose, right? So it's a seed grain. Why is this grain so beneficial to us? Well, it's high in fiber. It's an alkaline food, so it's easy to digest. And we haven't talked too much about alkaline versus acidic food, but any foods that produce an alkaline environment in your body are more healthy because harmful bacteria thrive on an acidic environment. So most if you're eating prepared foods and standard foods that you would get from the supermarket or fast food or whatever, they're largely acidic foods. So we need things to counter that, to counterbalance that. So that's one of the things that millet does. As well, it's high in magnesium, zinc. It's gluten-free, very important. It's called a smart carbohydrate because of the fact that it's gluten-free, and it doesn't contain a lot of simple sugars, so it'll take a long time to break down and provide you with energy for a longer amount of time than foods that break down quickly, like wheat, right? Anytime you have foods that are in breads that are not a whole grain, it's going to break down more quickly, which is another reason why we're going to prepare a whole grain as opposed to having flour and making bread or pasta or whatever. So this is the better thing to do. Okay, it also contains serotonin, so therefore serotonin is one of those chemicals in the brain that causes us to feel happy. So it increases your mood. So it's beneficial for that as well. So anyways, those are some of the benefits of millet. Okay, this is how I prepare millet. I like to toast it. And the reason is because my mother used to toast millet when she used to make it for me, and it gives it a toasty flavor, which is kind of nice. So I've already you get millet, it's a really inexpensive grain, like if you go to the bulk section of any health food store, and of course you want to make sure it says organic, may as well do that, not loading yourself with pesticides when you can help it. Anyways, it's cheap. It's like $2 something a pound, which is in the world of health food is pretty inexpensive. So I've already preloaded into a measuring cup. So like all grains, you do 2 cups of water to 1 cup of grain. I'm not soaking it, although that's a good idea to do usually. Since I'm going to toast it instead, we're just going to take it dry. And you might want to pick through it to make sure you get any rocks or anything out of the millet before you putting it in, so you don't want to chomp into it. My skillet, right now we're going to consider it a skillet, and it's on a low flame. And I'm going to take my millet and just dump it in there. Dump it right on in. Looks like that. And then I'm going to take my wooden spoon and just stir it. You know, make sure that nothing burns or scorches. And I'm just going to toast it like this for 30 seconds to a minute. And you will know that it's toasted because it starts to smell toasty. And you'll know what I mean when you do this yourself. And you may hear some little pop crackles, you know, and that's okay, no problem. But you just want to make sure that you're not burning anything. So you just kind of do this, or you can take the pot, and remember in the olden days how we would do popcorn, you would shake it like that, shake the pot like that, and that's another way to make sure nothing is burning on the bottom or getting stuck. So we do that for a little bit until it starts to smell nice and tasty, toasty and tasty. So how do you know? Take a sniff. And it starts to smell, you'll see it heats up and it smells nice and warm. Again, I have it on a low heat, so it's not really in risk of burning, but you still want to stir it and keep it moving a little bit. Okay, so our millet is pretty much toasted up, and we're good to go. So the next step, remember what I said, whenever you're cooking a grain, whether it's rice or this or any kind of grain, the recipe is normally 2 cups of water to 1 cup of grain. I have my water right here, so we're going to take that and just right in the same pot, we're just going to pour it in there, just like that. There we go. Now, the last step that I like to do, and you know, you hear people say different things about when would you add salt. I usually tend to add salt kind of right away, just so I can just put in the salt and then put the lid on and then set the timer and we wait. And that's good, because I like the flavor better when the salt gets a chance to really be absorbed by the grain. So that's just anyways, I digress. So when you are choosing the salt, I strongly suggest that you get rid of that big canister of blue stuff, the sodium chloride, the processed sodium chloride, because that's one of the most unhealthy things that you could possibly eat. Salt, however, is important. It's key, and there's a reason why we crave that flavor, because our bodies need it. Real salt, sea salt, this is a good brand, but any kind of sea salt, natural sea salt, flower of the ocean, is providing you with all kinds of trace minerals and all kinds of minerals that you really need. It's a strange thing when you start taking a sea salt, whether it's our Himalayan salt, a pink salt, those things are so nutritionally dense and so key that that's what you get more than, you know, the sodium chloride. It's in certain compounds, and you know, it's not just sodium chloride per the processed version. So when you get naturally occurring sea salt, you are doing your body a big favor. So you don't have to be scared of eating sea salt. Also, it tastes less salty, which is kind of interesting as well. So when you use it, you actually may want to use a little bit more because it tastes less salty. That's just my experience. So I'm going to put about probably maybe you want to put somewhere between a pinch and a half a teaspoon, something like that, into your grain and water. So I have to turn this off for a minute so I can reach over and do. So let's check the progress. We are at just past the halfway point we're about 18 minutes right now, and we're actually probably closer to all the way done. If you take a look, you can see that we're boiling. You can hear it percolating. There's still a good amount of liquid, and it won't be done until all the liquid is absorbed into the grain and it looks dry on the outside. So we have a little bit ways to go, but I just wanted to show you what it looks as we are proceeding. All right, we'll check back in a little bit. Okay, here we are checking in at the end of it to see how we're doing. Little steam comes off, and so that's about how it's going to look. It's going to look kind of fluffy. There might be some holes. That's from the last of the water bubbling up through there, just making a physical shape because of the water. But otherwise, you can see it's just kind of fluffy, and that's our grain. The beautiful thing about millet, unlike rice, millet is a great breakfast food, as well as a great food that can accompany a full-on meal, like a lunch or a dinner, to be the grain that goes along with the main course and your vegetables and all that kind of stuff. So, but that's how you prepare it, and so you can, after it cools down, transfer it to another container, and then you have some for now and some for later, and it's a beautiful thing. So I have a recipe on my site already to make a sauce to put on it, but other things you might want to put on it, let's just take a look over here. Some of my favorite things to put on millet are ghee. This is ghee. There's not the label on when I get ghee comes right off, so you can't really see it, but ghee is spelled G-H-E-E. And it's basically, it's what they call clarified butter, which means that they take all the milk proteins out of it. They just scrape it off when they heat it up, and so what's left is the oil. So if you have a sensitivity to dairy, you're able to eat this food. So it gives you, the nutritional benefits from eating dairy without the milk proteins, which so many people have lactose, and the sugars, and so many people have the sensitivity to lactose, and so on and so forth. So this is will give you kind of that flavor of butter without being the part of the butter that many of us cannot tolerate. So I like putting that on it because it's just yummy. And then another one of my favorite things, this is like considering as a breakfast food. I love this stuff. This is not coconut oil. This is coconut butter, which is a very different things by this amazing brand. It just does such a great job with it. This is decadent. This is an expensive item, which would last for a pretty long time. Nevertheless, it's also another yummy thing to put on grains. It's just really delicious. So again, you can think of how you want to dress this up for breakfast or lunch or dinner, and that's one of the beautiful things about this particular grain. Okay, well, we've learned how to make millet, and I hope you go forth and get yourself some millet and make some. And I'll see you soon. Bye-bye. So here we are. This is my finished meal, and I made a breakfast version of millet. And in the millet, I added the coconut butter to make it nice and creamy. I cut up 2 figs, and I sprinkled on some hemp seeds, and then I poured a little bit of vanilla on the top of it. And this will be a delicious, highly nutritious, inexpensive breakfast food for me, and it's a great way to start the day. All right, here we go. Thank you for watching this video, and I hope you enjoy the day and making millet.